What's up guys, welcome to the Moody channel. Today we're going to check out the second boss in the Sanctum Domination Raid, the Eye of the Jailer. And as usual, this is a PTR, so things might change when we come to live. Now, let's check it out. This boss fight has 3 phases. In phase 1, you'll fight the boss and handle his mechanics. You'll also get some ads that wants to grab you to pull you out of the platform. In phase 2, the boss backs off a bit and takes almost no damage from you. Instead, there'll be 2 ads spawning in each side of the platform that you will fight and move around in a certain way because there will be black pools all over the place. And in the last phase, in phase 3, the boss enters a mini enrage and becomes more powerful, but it's the same as in phase 1 and in phase 2 when it comes to some of the mechanics. The Dungeon Journal says that there are some mechanics that we only see in phase 3, but we actually saw them even in phase 1, and to be honest, if they only showed up in phase 3, this fight would be very boring. There are 2 boss abilities that the tanks needs to be aware of. One of them is called Piercing Lens. Through the entire fight, when you're fighting the boss, he will cast Piercing Lens on you, and this happens very often. Now the other one, which is a little bit more important, is called Deathlink, and this does very high physical damage to the main tank. This also does damage to players in the raid, so the tank must use defensive just before the boss hits you with Deathlink to reduce the damage to other players in that raid. The boss has a couple smaller eyes swirling around him, and these small eyes will shoot shadow damage on random player locations. You will see swirls on the platform that you must dodge. If you don't move away, you get a chunk of shadow damage on you. Stygian Abdouctors. These are ads that spawn on heroic mode. I believe you'll see these ads on last phase on normal mode as well, but on heroic mode and above, you get these ads during phase 1. They are flying behind the boss and will target a random player. You get a big swirl around you, and after a couple of seconds, you get grabbed by a chain from the ad. This ad will try to drag you down out of the platform so you die, but if other players stands inside the circle, you guys become too heavy for the ad to drag all of you, so the ad gets pulled to you instead. This ad must be tanked and cast lance debuffs of physical damage. Kill it as soon as it lands. Soul Shatter. In the Dungeon Journal, it says that this can happen to all players. I only saw it on me as a tank though. The boss will split your soul into 3 pieces. These 3 souls will cast a beam each on you that stacks for each of the beam, reducing movement speed by 20%, meaning 60% for all 3 beams, and reduce damage and healing done by 30%, meaning 90% for all 3 beams. To remove this, you have to run over all 3 of the souls and it'll go away after a couple of seconds. Annihilating Glare. On the top left and top right side of the platform, there are harpoons. When you get close to it, you get an extra action button. When you click on that, it makes you jump to the other side with the harpoon. Alright, so now when we know this, the boss will cause something called Annihilating Glare. This is a beam that the boss shoots from either left or right side of the platform and then sweeps the area. If you get hit, it does deadly damage every second you are hit. So yeah, you have to avoid it. You have to run to the opposite side of the beam and use the harpoon to get tossed over to the other side. In phase 2, the boss move away from the platform and take basically no damage from us. 2 eye ads will spawn on each side of the platform, starting from where the harpoons are. Divide the raid in half, with 1 tank on each side, and each tank will bring the ad to each marker. Do not have them close to each other or they will cast a stacking debuff on the raid that is very nasty. The ad will cast something called Spreading Misery on the tank. When this debuff expires, it leaves a pool on the platform, so tanks must start on each marker and move away from the pool and stand next to it and continue doing that until the ad is dead. Move towards the outer area of the platform and make sure there are no pools in the center of the area where you're going to fight the boss later on. These ads also puts a debuff on random players called Slothful Corruption. This does damage, reduce spell casting, reduce range attack speed, and also reduce the movement speed by 40%. This must be dispelled. Kill the ads approximately at the same time or the dead one is not totally dead. It will still cast Suffering debuff on random players that does nasty damage until the other ad is dead. The boss will also use some abilities on the raid while he is in defense mode further back. These are abilities we see in phase 1, but there are actually some new ones here as well. One of them is called Titanic Death Gaze. The boss focuses on energy and blasts the entire raid, which does moderate raid shadow damage. Healers, beware when this comes and top people up. We also get the Soul Shatter here, when the boss splits your soul into 3 and you have to run into them to remove the debuff. However, on the testing, we do not see the Soul Shatter on this phase. Boss does also something called Desolation Beam. It targets a random player and you get an arrow and a circle around you. This does moderate shadow damage, but if anyone enters the circle, they will get the debuff and it gets even higher shadow damage on them. In the last phase, the boss enters a mini enraged state and powers up. It will increase its own attack speed by 50%, it will do more shadow damage, it will reduce healing taken of all players by 10% every 6 seconds. Also, there's less room to move around in because the black pools. Just make sure you leave some free space in the middle and to the sides where the harpoons are. You will handle the same abilities you did in phase 1, such as the swirls to dodge, the add bring down by stacking up on the targeted player, the tank mechanics, but also the Desolation debuff from phase 2 where you have to stay away from other players. This is the phase where you bloodlust, heroism, time warp and burn the boss down. Whew. I really hope this was useful for you guys, and I really hope that this will help you take down the boss with your team. If you liked it, please hit that like button down below. If you want to see more of this stuff, make sure that you're subscribed, and also make sure that that bell is clicked on so you see more stuff will come out directly. Until next time, my friends. Take care.